Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining the 2022 Sustainability in Action Summit. My name's Angela Hultberg, and I'll be speaking to someone today who knows all about taking action, the Chief Sustainability Officer of General Motors, Kristen Seaman. Hi, Kristen.
Hi, Angela. Thanks for having me here.
So, the topic of our conversation today is your business set up for sustainability success? And together we'll explore opportunities and pitfalls of transitioning to becoming a truly sustainable business. So, as we just heard in the previous session with Mr. Nigel Topping, there is little doubt that we are facing a huge shift. And the pressure is on from everyone, from customers, consumers, investors, financial institutions, NGOs, employees, media, everyone, really. So businesses need to act. And I think if you're coming at this just from a being compliant and do less bad point of view, you're doing it all wrong. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. But before we dive into it, do you mind telling the audience a little bit about yourself? Because looking at your resume, it doesn't seem that you come from sustainability. So how did you end up here?
Great question. So you're right. I've been an engineer with GM for almost 28 years. As you indicated, my career has been mainly in our product development teams. I've led a number of our large engineering organizations. But as part of that, I've really seen the important role that engineering plays in new technology advancements, whether it's in automotive with, things like advanced safety technologies, autonomous driving, some of the new infotainment features that we've, launched, et cetera, and also in everyday life, right? Everything from cell phones to medical technologies, engineers have been part of. And so actually my engineering background's been a great connection into the CSO role. I'm here in this job to break down barriers as we work towards GM's goal of creating a world with zero emissions. And really engineers are taught to solve problems, right? The biggest thing we learn in school is how to solve problems, take a lot of data, make analysis, and work towards a solution and drive change. And as you said, there's no bigger problem to solve than climate change. I'm an engineer. I'm also a mom. I have 3 boys, and their future is extremely important to me. And I feel responsible for making sure that I do everything I can do to protect them, protect their future, help create a planet that's more sustainable for them. And it's been just an extremely fortunate opportunity to be able to lead our sustainability initiatives at GM at this point in time. It's now more than ever, there's an opportunity to play a very meaningful role in helping people thrive on a planet that's safe, that's sustainable. And I'm determined to make sure that I'm part of the solution, that GM's part of the solution, and we leave this world a better place for my 3 boys and for their children that hopefully come after. And I'm sure there's a lot of other parents and caregivers and others out there that can understand that and feel the same sense of accountability. As citizens of this world, it's a great opportunity to be able to solve the urgent global problems that we can come together and work towards a common goal of making the world a better place.
Yeah, I could definitely relate to that. It's also about being able to answer once they start asking you, what did you do, mom? What did you do, dad? Like you knew this was happening. What did you do? So it's going to be real good to feel like, well, at least I tried, right? But
Exactly.
so with your background, because we see a lot of our clients struggling with business people and sustainability specialists, like they're not the same thing. So, what are your thoughts on that? Do we need more sustainability experts in business, or should business people become sustainability experts, or should it be both ways? And how does one go about doing that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little bit of both. I think sustainability, we talk about it at GM that we've made great progress and really have had cultural transformations over the years, where safety is part of everything we do. Quality is part of everything we do. Diversity, equity, and inclusion are part of all of our everyday conversations. And sustainability needs to be the same thing. It can't be its own group trying to solve the world's problems. And so, at GM, sustainability and our businesses are really completely intertwined, both from a perspective of doing what's right, but also doing what's necessary to keep the business afloat and to make us successful. It's actually been a huge asset to come into this role with a strong understanding of our product development process and the team that does that. Certainly there's a number of sustainability and environmental experts on my team and within GM that have, been working on these challenges and problems for years. But now I've been able to come in and connect them to the broader business units and having that perspective of maybe where the challenges are and where we need to, interact. I feel very fortunate that at GM, our business goals, our cultural goals, and our ESG goals are all aligned. They're not independent, fighting against each other. Mm-hmm. We understand that the impacts of the transportation sector on climate are really important, and we need to be the driving force behind making that change. And that's where our vision of a zero emissions future is headed. It's fundamental to us, but it's a great potential, right? Our investments in electric vehicles, autonomous vehicles, and software are really transforming, GM from an automaker, I shouldn't say just being, but from an automaker to a platform innovator, and really providing multiple drivers of long-term growth, whether it be, additional vehicle sales or really allowing us to double our revenue and really increase our margins as well.
I love that. Long-term drivers too, pun intended, I hope. But let's talk about that, because GM obviously is one of the most well-known OEMs in the world, right? A conventional car making company. And like you said, the transport industry is one of the biggest emitters today. But looking at GM and the efforts you're taking, like you're saying, really embedding sustainability, it seems to me from the outside at least, it seems that you're impacting actually more than just GM, but really looking to make a shift in the entire industry. So what are you doing? I mean, you're a conventional company, right? What action can you take to make the shift?
Yeah. So thanks for that. And we are very proud of what we're doing. I talked about coming into this role and having these environmental experts, right, that have spent their career working on our operations and what we could do in our facilities to drive efficiencies and improvements. And when we took a step back a few years ago and looked at our total carbon footprint, that focus and energy, while GM's scale is significant and that still has a large impact on the overall climate change and the great work we were doing there, but it was only about 2% of our carbon footprint. Our biggest piece, as with many, is our scope 3, and for us it's the tailpipe emissions that come from the vehicles we sell, and that's about 75% of our carbon footprint. So it's super important that, as we accelerate towards our future, our all-electric future, that every vehicle we sell is a zero emissions vehicle. And that's why we've made the commitments we've made. We've, last year announced we commit that we're going to be working towards a transition to 100% zero emission vehicles by 2035. We've set a goal for carbon neutral by 2040. 30 new EV models globally by 2025. And then we also have a goal around, I talked a little bit about our facilities and our operations, and that focus is still important for our scale. We had set, actually back in 2016, we set a goal around renewable electricity for going to 100% by 2050. We've accelerated that a few times And now we're committed to be at that 100% renewable by 2025 in the US and 2035 globally. Continue to make huge investment commitments. We've committed $35 billion in the next 5 years. And really just an overall focus on what we can do for both energy efficiency in our products and our operations, and really to continue to make that change. To us, zero emissions means charging with green energy. And so our scale and push is to accelerate decarbonizing the grid and everything else that we touch.
There's going to be a lot of pieces in this puzzle, that's for sure. But okay, let's just get to the big question right away. So how is this affecting business? Are you seeing an effect on bottom line? Is this a cost, or is it really an opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, as I said a little bit ago, GM views this as an opportunity for growth, right? We plan to double our annual revenue and expand margins to 12 to 14% by 2030. And really as a result of our transformation into a growth company that's driven by EVs, but also those connected services and new businesses. Our strategy is to continue to unlock significant growth and value creation, and it's really at every level. First and foremost, it's all about our products, right? And beautifully designed and executed vehicles that customers love to drive, and that'll attract more people into what we do. I mean, the new Hummer EV is super exciting. The Cadillac Lyriq, Chevrolet Bolt, right? I could go on. I could talk for an hour about our products. I'm sure that's not all you want to hear about, but it really is our goal to, capture the #1 EV market share in the U.S. We're delivering on hardware platforms that will enable us to put everybody in an electric vehicle, even, beyond our own vehicles. We talk a lot about having a portfolio of vehicles that cover every price point and every segment, so that we really do believe everybody in an EV is the future, and we want to provide that so that nobody gets left behind. But we also are focused with our Ultium battery platform and our Hydrotech fuel cell platform that give us the potential to electrify other segments. We have partnerships in the air industry, in trains, and even in electric boats now, to look at electrifying those into zero emission products. And that Ultium platform really enables that to happen. Battery pack costs are dropping. The current generation of the Ultium is 40% less than the previous generation, and we expect the next generation of Ultium packs to cost even nearly 60% less than those do today. So huge improvements continue to happen from both a technology and a cost standpoint. Talked a little bit about, the software-enabled services and the development of our Ultifi platform. My background is in the electrical space, so I have a lot of passion over the services and technology that's happening there. But we see that as another opportunity to open up, $20 to $25 billion in additional revenues, and really increase margins over the next 10 years or so. Another Cruise, our autonomous platform, is really leading the way in level 4 and 5 autonomy. If you haven't had a chance to see some of the videos of either people driving in or other people seeing the driverless taxi rides that are happening out in San Francisco right now, Mary Barra took a couple rides already so far, and she just described it as surreal. You get in, and first, I think you're kind of wondering what's going to happen, and before long, you forget that there's not a driver, and it's just happening on its own. It's super exciting to see not only what that'll enable for communication, but zero congestion and some of the other goals and ambitions we've set. Ultra Cruise technology, we have Super Cruise on our vehicles today, which is really the first true hands-free driver assistant technology, and Ultra Cruise now takes that farther with more roads and more applications, and launching and commercializing businesses across GM in areas like OnStar Insurance, GM Defense, BrightDrop. really looking at all of the areas that we can apply not just our engineering expertise, but our manufacturing capabilities, the technology we have with the Altium platform and the Altify platform, and really continuing to do that at scale and speed and quality. So tons of opportunity in the space.
Yeah, I was just about to say. So it sounds to me like what you're saying is opportunity,
Yes.
100%. But that's fantastic. And I'm a bit biased, of course. I'm a sustainability director, but that's also what we see, that once you start opening that box and looking at what else can we do, there's just like endless opportunity, really, from a business perspective. And I think that's what makes it so exciting, because it's, you get to be a bit creative again, right?
Exactly.
Um, so I want to change the topic slightly, because we hear all the time about, the role of businesses and the transition to a green economy. And you referenced the commitment you did of going fully zero emission vehicles. I know you signed on to the Glasgow Declaration at COP26, and to me, COP26 was really a defining moment where businesses arrived, really stepped up to the plate, made commitments in all industries, saying like, we will lead, we will invest, we will do this, but we can't do it alone. We need governments, we need regulators, we need support, we need to do it together, really. So I'd like to just like hear your take on that. How do you see the business responsibility versus governments?
Yeah, well, I couldn't agree with you more. And I love how you said we can't do it alone, because that's our rallying cry. Our slogan, our mission, our everything we talk about is that it's everybody in. We know we can't do this alone. It's going to take businesses, governments, suppliers, employees, communities, to make this change happen. There's no doubt that the impacts of climate change on our Earth are they're undeniable and they're unavoidable. But it's going to take leadership from businesses and governments, to make sure that we work together to really scale the necessary resources to have real influence and make those changes. We believe at GM that it's our role not just to direct our own company's transformation, but to really lead and influence the industry. We're proud of the fact that we were really at the inflection point and tipping point of making these changes happen. And we want to set the standards that others will follow. Everybody into us also means that nobody's left behind. And so we really want to make sure that as we're making this transition, that it's about equality as well. And we believe strongly in, about equitable climate action, and making sure that as we make this transition, those communities that maybe are disproportionately affected by climate change aren't negatively impacted. We talked about having EVs across every price point, every segment, and really make sure that as we implement our growth strategy, that we've got an opportunity and frankly a responsibility to create a better future for generations that are coming behind us. I talked about my own children and making sure that I am leaving the world a better place for them. And the companies, particularly large companies, in that, like GM, that we can work together and encourage others to follow suit and make that same significant impact on our industry and economies as a whole. It's really important to us to be a leader and make the changes that are necessary.
And I think we heard that a lot at COP and in the past few months, around, partnership is the new leadership and radical collaboration. All these things really expressing the same thing. And we are seeing some very unlikely partnerships forming too, right? Former fierce competitors coming together to build infrastructure, and companies that you think have nothing to do with each other working together on circular models. And yeah, it's an exciting time to see that. And I think also the regulators need to be part of that, because nobody knows what needs to be done better than business, because they have that engineering knowledge, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, so no, but it's great. Okay, so the topic for our discussion, we've been going a bit, I think it's fantastic. I could listen to you all day. Um, but the topic really of our conversation is your business set up for sustainability success? So you've been mentioning all these fantastic things you're doing, but I mean, we both know that becoming a sustainable business is not an easy task, and you have so much going on. So what would you say it takes as a company to start transitioning, or if you've already started to like level up and really get to that next level? What are the key success factors behind General Motors becoming a leader?
Yeah, I mean, so GM as a company has been around for over a century, right? And we really transformed how the world moved in the last century. So we believe we're uniquely positioned to transform the next. We've got the right team. I've got more than 180,000 friends or engineers and builders with technical and business expertise, really to solve any problem, and the passion to change the world. We've got the right hardware. We've got experience in designing and assembling more than 500 million vehicles, more than any other automaker in the world. You take that and integrating software and hardware and what we deliver to customers to, you know, provide the vehicles and experiences that they want. We have scale as America's largest automaker. In contrast to companies that have built maybe just a small number of self-driving cars, we have over 150 manufacturing facilities that can produce, over 9 million vehicles a year. It gives us the capability to test and to manufacture, that next generation of electric and autonomous vehicles at scale. And it opens up doors beyond our wildest dreams for companies maybe that don't have that makeup but want to make the transition to a more sustainable business. I think you start with your employees, you start with your leaders as well, but the employees, that path to innovation starts and ends with our employees. They're fundamental to the vibrancy, the success of our company. We've established employee development programs that address both individual and business needs, as well as really worked on how we recruit in order to reach the most diverse populations and really get that brain power and that thought process into the company. We're continuing to evolve our hiring and employee engagement practices to make sure that we attract and retain talent that has diverse backgrounds and experiences. Without our employees working on these programs, we wouldn't have the means or the confidence to really extend our ambitions. It's leadership, engagement, and commitment as well. I think we owe it to ourselves. We owe it to our employees. They expect it of us and our children and their children to create that more sustainable planet. And we can't wait for somebody else to do it. We need to do everything we can to solve it. And I think you need to set goals today, align to them. And if you don't know exactly how you're going to get from A to Z today, but you set a goal out there, I think you can really make some progress. I mentioned our initial renewable energy goal we set was for 2050, and that was set in 2016. 5 years later, we were able to accelerate that by 25 years. But if we would have never set a goal, we would have never made that progress. And so I think you got to start somewhere and then figure out how you make the next step.
No, but I love that. I love that. It's the journey, right? And the people.
Exactly.
So it seems to me then that what you're saying is, it's not even just the top people or just the, many workers. It needs to be everywhere and with everyone, because that's who's going to find the solutions for you. And I mean, that's great when you're a chief sustainability officer. If everyone's working on it, like you say, you have 180,000, of course they're going to achieve things, right? That's a lot of people working to find better solutions. I like that. So, I mean, and then there's the elephant in the room, right? Because we see many companies talking about all the great things they're doing, And many are doing really good things. And then at the same time, they're being called out for greenwashing. And we can see now, I think, an increase like greenwashing claim anxiety almost, that some businesses are even afraid to tell the public what they're doing because they're afraid of that backlash. And I usually say that, the way to greenwashing is paid with good intentions, because it usually comes from doing good things, but there are just things, right? And a few sustainability projects does not a sustainable business make. So how do you keep that balance? Like, how do you demonstrate real action so you can influence the industry too, and share what you're doing and being transparent, both about success stories and maybe the not so successful stories too? Like, how do you keep that balance?
Yeah, I mean, I think for us at GM, we have cultural goals and behaviors that we talk about all the time, and winning with integrity is at the core of that. And everything starts and that's the foundation. And so, I'm very proud of everything our company stands for, and that putting the plans in place and the portfolio in place to work towards those tough goals that we've set for ourselves. They're very ambitious goals. But our zero emissions, all electric future is well underway. We're moving faster than ever. We've talked about earlier, we can't do it alone, but we also can't wait for somebody else to solve every problem that's there. So things like charging infrastructure, it's important for us to start working on that now. And so we've made investments. We vested with dealer partners to install over 40,000 charging outlets at dealer sites, connecting over 3,000 communities across the United States to help EV owners install home charging outlets before their vehicles are even delivered, and really continue to show progress along the way. The pace of progress, I think, is very visible, and it's important, I believe, to continue to show that. We've made some recent announcements and investments, whether it be in our Spring Hill, Tennessee plant to transform it to building EVs, including our new Cadillac Lyriq. Factory Zero in Detroit Hamtramck is, our pride and joy. That's building our new Hummer EV. Orion Assembly in Lake Orion, Michigan, and so continuing to show that commitment of really making the change and showing the transformation. It's the investments, I think, just underscore how committed we are, and to move our brands into an all electric lineup. We're really reimagining how our business will operate, and it won't happen overnight, but we're working towards it every day as one company, each little step, and driving towards that growth strategy. So I think it's continuing to be transparent about what we have accomplished, and where we still have work to do.
Great. So quite literally putting your money where your mouth is to some extent, right? No, but I think what you touch on is so important, because I think it's not only about sharing the success stories. It's also about, sharing the not so successful stories and saying, like, here's something we did not work great. Please avoid doing it so we get together. Not everyone needs to make the same mistakes, and then you accelerate the speed of the entire transition. So I think that's fantastic. So we don't have that much time left. I could talk to you all day, but
Same.
But so for the audience listening, and we have a lot of our listeners today will be from the business community. So do you have like any final recommendations for them, regardless of industry? What does it take to be a leader? What should I prioritize? What pitfalls should I absolutely avoid? Like, how do I set myself up for sustainability success?
Yeah, I mean, I think the opportunity ahead of us is, and the potential benefit is too great to go at it alone. We talked about everybody in, and I can't emphasize enough really the importance of inviting collaborators to bring skills and resources to work together towards that shared vision of the future. It's conversations like this that create that thought process and those connections. I encourage businesses to think about how we make that transition to a carbon neutral future. It's important, and we need to make sure that those solutions account for inequities and how communities really experience climate impacts. I talked a little bit earlier about how GM is prioritizing equitable climate action to make sure that our all-electric future is inclusive for our current and future workforce, for our customers, communities where we live and work, and really making sure that we bring everybody along on that journey. We hope that every company is thinking about it in that same way and ensuring that our sustainable solutions and theirs are guided by inclusion and equity. Mary Barra stood up and said she wants us to be the most inclusive company in the world. But when she said that, she said, I want every company to be the most inclusive company in the world, because it's not something, this is about society. We talked earlier about the fact that my background's not in sustainability, and I grew up, in the engineering realm and product development. And one of the things I find the most inspiring in this role really is the collaboration. Saving our planet doesn't need to be a competition amongst companies. It needs to be companies, governments, communities, and others coming together to compete together against climate change, right? We've only got one planet, and we've got to work together to save it. If you don't have goals today, set them. If you have goals, get your company aligned on how you're going to achieve them. I kind of say we need to start big and start small. We're literally talking about, as engineers, we often say, it's not rocket science, right? But this literally is saving the planet, and none of us are going to be able to do that alone, and we won't solve it overnight. But if we approach it like we talk about at GM with everybody in, I'm confident we'll make a difference, and we'll find ways to leave a more sustainable planet for our children.
That's a beautiful note to end on. Thank you so much. So people, you heard it here first. Maybe, I don't know, but it's about bringing not only the E in ESG, but the S too. It's about equality. It's about partnership. It's about the people, and it's about taking action. Even if you don't know exactly how you're going to get there, do something, get going. You'll find your way if everyone's on board. That's what I'm taking from this session today. Kristen, thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you for setting a great example for the automotive industry and for all other industries to follow. I think our audience is super inspired. I know I am. And let's hope the rest of the day is this great. There's going to be lots to talk about: circular business models, the social aspects, responsible supply chains. So stay tuned and enjoy the conversations. Kristen, again, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Angela. I really enjoyed the conversation. Thanks for having me.